Ivanka Trump may be in trouble for using her private email to do government business. Sound familiar? President Trump's asylum ban has been blocked by a federal court, and the New York Times has become a communist propaganda tool. This is The Better World, and I'm your host, Luis Acevedo. Starting off today, we're going to talk about Ivanka Trump's email usage and why it is raising eyebrows. So you may remember that back in 2016, 2015, when President Trump was campaigning for the presidency, he called out his opponent, Hillary Clinton, for using a private server and a private email to handle government business, at least some of it, where she had 33,000 emails sent out and there was classified information in them. She had a private server in her house, and she was using it to stay under the radar of being detected on her wrongdoings inside of her email. Well, his daughter is using or has used a private email to do some government business. Now, this is an article in Bloomberg's where they state that the account was used while transitioning into government, and it was almost always used for scheduling and logistics concerning her family. However, almost always doesn't mean always. That leaves room for some speculation, although it doesn't appear to be anything speculative here because there was some government business handled over the private email, so they say. And now, Democrats want to further investigate. Rightfully so. I think they should. I just want to add that their comparison and them calling the Trumps hypocrites for Ivanka Trump using a private email is a little unwarranted. The reason that is because, well, let's point out the distinctions here between Hillary Clinton and Ivanka Trump. Hillary Clinton had a private server installed in her house. Hillary Clinton sent out 33,000 emails that were classified. Hillary Clinton was trying to hide stuff. Hillary Clinton actively deleted and destroyed certain emails and messages. Ivanka Trump, on the other hand, didn't have a private server installed in her house, didn't have 33,000 emails. There's no evidence that what she was doing was classified business either. Was it bad practice? Probably shouldn't have done that. And even if it was and is legal for her to do so, it just is bad politically for her to make that move, and it would hurt her father. Although she isn't a politician, there's speculation that maybe she would want to run to be the president someday. However, there's nothing for certain as of now. There's just speculation. I just find it really funny that the Democrats are quick to jump on the gun to do an investigation on Ivanka Trump for her wrongdoings with the email. When it came to Hillary Clinton, everybody was standing still, not doing anything, wanted to wait, and didn't say anything about her deleting messages, didn't say anything to her about actually not giving all the information to them. And this is also very convenient for the Democrats, being that Hillary Clinton has to, within 30 days, submit a written report or a verbal report under oath to answer more questions about her emails. Because it isn't over. There's a lot that hasn't been answered, and yet the Judicial Watch, which is a private organization who does news reporting, had to do this on their own by filing for a Freedom of Information Act regarding the information around these emails, and then they took it a step further and kept pressing the DOJ and the Secretary of State to do something regarding these unanswered questions. What the questions are, I'm not sure. I just know Hillary Clinton now legally has to submit more answers to certain questions regarding her emails now within 30 days. So it is very convenient. I'm not saying this is some big conspiracy theory here. I just think it's very convenient that Ivanka Trump is now being dragged through the coals for her emails, and Hillary Clinton just conveniently has to answer more questions for her own emails. Now, to further the discussion on government corruption and hypocrisy within our government, we're going to switch over to President Trump and his asylum ban, which was blocked today by a San Francisco federal court. And they stated, the judge who said that they would block it, stated the following. This is an article from NPR. Whatever the scope of the president's authority, he may not rewrite immigration laws to impose a condition that Congress has expressly forbidden. Defendants claims that the rule can somehow be harmonized with INA are not persuasive. Failing to comply with entry requirements such as arriving as a designated port of entry should bear little title, if any, weigh in the asylum process. So, if for those of you who don't know exactly what this asylum ban is, what President Trump wanted to do is two things: have a port of entry in where people who are coming from the caravan all the way from Honduras that are now in Mexico would have to go through a port of entry in order to file for asylum. And those who entered the country illegally would not be able to file for asylum. Now, under current U.S. law, if a illegal immigrant were to come in, were to file for asylum, they would be able to do that and receive it if there was true evidence that they fit the eligibility for refugee status. Now, let's recap a little bit. A lot of the people who are in this migrant caravan are only here for economic reasons and need of job, where the refugee status is only a qualification if the person is under threat of being tortured or discriminated against by their government, or threats of injury or death or imprisonment by their government. That's the only time a person is allowed to come into the United States and seek asylum. President Trump is not doing away with that. He just wanted to deter illegal immigration and make sure it was more controlled and less chaotic than what it could have been. And the reason why I said that this is going to expose a little more government corruption, and is maybe not so much government corruption, but more, no, it is, and the hypocrisy with the government. Now, this judge was appointed by Barack Obama, and what she said is right. The president cannot override immigration laws. He just cannot do that. However, I like how the left gains sudden amnesia when it comes to President Obama's history with DACA. DACA is an executive order that put a bunch of illegal immigrants under protection from being deported because Barack Obama signed an executive order stating that they will not be deported. Although this goes against what his appointed judge stated, that the president cannot override immigration law on his own. He needs the approval of Congress, which, by the way, President Obama at the time acknowledged this before signing an executive order for DACA. He said, "I'm not a king," I quote. "I'm not a king." He stated that he needs Congress's approval in order to do anything with DACA. Yet, that didn't happen. It's an executive order. So, let me get this straight. It is okay for a Democratic president to do away with the approval from Congress to do anything with the immigration law, but as soon as a Republican steps into office, it's once again unconstitutional. That is, what the hell? What the hell? And now if you're saying, well, that means President Trump should be able to do it. No, he shouldn't be able to do it. I'm not saying two wrongs make a right. What I'm saying is that there's inconsistency with the logic here. It's okay for one party to do it, it's not okay for the other party to do it. They only want justice when they're not the ones in power. They only want to follow the law when they're not the ones enforcing the law. Isn't that a little weird? And isn't that scary? Isn't that a little scary right there? That's why, in my opinion, our government has too much power. So, we'll completely forget about Barack Obama's unconstitutionality, but we'll call President Trump out on his. I get it. As long as the left has power, they can do no wrong. But as soon as the right gets into power, they're going to start enforcing laws again. This is wrong. I disagree with what President Trump did. He cannot say that illegal immigrants cannot have the right to seek asylum because in U.S. law, they do have the right to seek it. I understand what he was trying to do. I get it. I like it, actually. But legally, he can't do that. And I'm glad that the courts called him on this because that's a bad precedent to set. But the precedent has already been set by Barack Obama. And nobody blocked him from doing DACA. Congress didn't enact it. Another thing I want to add is President Trump tried to make DACA an actual bill so that way they can actually be here legally. He tried to do that. He offered the Democrats that in return for funds for the wall. They said no. They said no. The Democrats are the ones stalling on DACA. The Democrats are the ones continuously allowing unconstitutionality to oversee the immigration law. But they will only call it out when it is a Republican. This is wrong. We should be able to call it out whenever it happens on either party. This shouldn't be a partisan issue. This should be nonpartisan. Our Constitution is nonpartisan. Yet, the Democrats use it as a partisan tool continuously, time and time again. And I also want to add something else that Barack Obama did that went without Senate approval, which it needed, the Iran deal, which President Trump has done away with, and everybody has lost their minds, but war hasn't started. But I remember when the Obama administration said that we need the Iran deal in order to prevent war. There is a war with Iran, is there? No, there's not. We're actually suffocating them right now with not allowing them to receive federal dollars and actually enforcing the sanctions that were placed on them. So it is just very concerning to me that one party is okay to break the rules when they're in power, but as soon as the other party gets into power, the rules are back into effect. It's like the rules don't matter to them or don't apply to them. That is wrong, and that's concerning. It should be concerning to all of us. I'm not taking President Trump's side here. I'm saying that we should follow what our laws say regardless of what the party is, and we should enforce them regardless of what the party is. But if you're a Democrat, you can get away with sending classified emails. You can get away with being responsible for Benghazi. If you want to rewrite immigration law without Congress's approval, you have the right to do that so long as you're a Democrat. This is very concerning, and it should be concerning to all of us. Now, on something that is, I would say, equally concerning, because the New York Times is a predominant newspaper, especially in America. Well, obviously, it's obviously in America, duh. But they wrote an article 2 days ago called "The American Dream is Alive in China." Yeah, you heard that right. The American Dream is alive in China. The reason they state this is because China right now apparently has more economic prosperity than we have in America. So the only thing that qualifies as the American dream is wealth. That's the only thing that applies. And this is very typical, and it should have been very obvious to people that this is the only thing the left cares about is money and power. If you don't have money, you can't have power, and you're being oppressed. Essentially is the case. If you have neither of those, it is to no fault of your own, you're just being oppressed. And the system is rigged against you. If you're poor and you have no sort of influence whatsoever in your life and you are controlled, it's because the system is against you, which just isn't the case. But it makes sense in why they're saying China is the new place for the American dream because of economic prosperity alone. Although they seem to forget that China is the place that if you're a Muslim, you're going to be sent to a concentration camp and tortured and starved and forced to sing communist songs and hail to their authoritarian president. That's what you're going to be forced to do if you're Muslim. So there's no freedom of religion in China. And do people not realize that China is extremely racist as well? I don't believe they allowed the screening of Black Panther because it was an all-black cast. They are heavily over in West Africa right now, and they're not letting, if I'm not mistaken, if I remember this article correctly that I read, I believe it's in the South China Morning Post, the Chinese are discriminating against the Africans in their own country because of their skin color. The Chinese are spying on their own citizens and making a social credit score based on what they watch, what they listen to, what they read, what they say, what they purchase. Depending on those things can improve or decrease your credit score. That's that government. But remember, the American dream is alive in China if you believe in oppression. And you believe in living under a totalitarian regime. And if you believe that the American dream has only been oppressive and you want to go continue to be oppressed, then go to China. That's where it's at. They seem to forget that the American dream is about liberty. It is about opportunity. It doesn't matter if you're not wealthy in America. It doesn't matter if you can't make $1 million. You can still have a wonderful life. You really can. If I remember this article correctly in Human Progress, it said the average poor person or lower income person in America lives like a middle class person would have in the 1950s. Yeah, a middle class in the 1950s, the golden era in America, which we all talk about. You know, where everybody could go out and buy a gallon of milk for 10 cents and buy a new car for a few grand and buy a house for a few grand. And, the dad just needed to work. The mom didn't need to work and she could stay at home and take care of the kids and live off one income and work Monday through Friday. Yeah, that time. And right now, the average poor person in America can live that right now. They can. They can. Yet, we're going to keep talking about how awful America is and just continuously to disgrace our country. It's a shame. It truly is. And it is really, really, this is even more concerning than what's going on with our government. Because the New York Times influences a lot of people, and it shapes the way a lot of people think and view the world. And this report here is horrible, and it's horrifying. It just goes to show that there is a serious attempt. There is a very serious attempt for communism to take hold in America. It really is, and we should all be aware of this. This is something that I have been saying to close friends and to my wife for a while now because of all the evidence stacked against China and all the money coming in from China to America and that's involved in our politics, our business, and now our journalism and stealing our information and stealing the IP addresses and all these things. I've been saying this for a while. I haven't said it on here because this is something that I've been really, really thinking more about before I make that statement on here. And I just did. So you can see all the prior episodes I've made regarding almost exclusively nothing but China and their corruption and how they've been stealing our information for years and influencing a lot of things in America for years. So that's the news for today. I hope you all enjoyed it. And I'm going to go ahead and do this segment now. It's called Historical Fun Facts. And just a heads up, this one is going to be allowed for everybody to see and hear until we get that Patreon up and going. So I just started a Patreon today, and you can find it at patreon.com/abetterworld_22. Once again, that's patreon.com/abetterworld_22. You can also find it on my Instagram page in the bio section. There's a link there that will take you directly to my Patreon page. And one of the perks of being a patron for my page is you will get exclusive access to this new segment which I'm starting today, the Historical Fun Facts. you will get exclusive access to the weekend episodes covering all the good things that are going on in the world, or you will be able to give me a suggestion on what you would like me to cover both Saturday and Sunday, and I will pick 2 subjects from 2 patrons to do an episode on. And lastly, you'll be able to ask me whatever you want, and I'll answer all your questions. So make sure you go over and do that. Go to my Instagram. My Instagram username is abetterworld_22. You can find my Patreon underneath there. And if you don't have an Instagram or you're not hip to that and you just want to look it up, remember it is patreon.com/abetterworld_22. All right, so time for the historical fun fact for the day. So there was a lot of talk when Fox did a commercial for Trumpy Bear. For those of you watching, I will attempt to put a little snippet in a picture over here of Trumpy Bear so we can all see what it is. For those of you listening, I'll just go ahead and describe it. So, Trumpy Bear is a teddy bear that has the president's hair, is dressed up in a suit, but it has a American flag blanket inside of it. That's Trumpy Bear. So the historical fun fact that we're doing today is the teddy bear and where it came from. So the teddy bear actually originates and gets its name from Theodore Roosevelt, who was also called Teddy. The reason this teddy bear was made because Theodore Roosevelt was on a hunting trip somewhere down south. I can't remember exactly where off the top of my head. He was down south hunting with a governor and some of his assistants. They were hunting bear. And all of them were able to get a bear except for Theodore Roosevelt, except for President Roosevelt. So his assistants ended up cornering a black bear, tying it to a tree, and took Theodore Roosevelt to the black bear for him to kill. Theodore Roosevelt said that this is very unsportsmanlike, and he was against it and said, no, we got to free the bear. I'm not killing a bear. This isn't a fair fight. How is this even fair? It can't, it's just not right. This isn't the way you hunt. So they let the bear go. He didn't get a bear. Then he comes back to, I believe, well, no, he doesn't come back anywhere. I'm sorry. After that incident, the teddy bear was made because of what he did, because of his heart. That's just the kind of person he was. So that's the historical fact for the day. So I hope you all enjoyed the episode, and I hope you all have a wonderful Tuesday, and we'll see you again tomorrow. Peace. Don't forget, by the way, patreon.com/abetterworld_22. Peace.